correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's an assisted living. And
Yeah.
do they take Medicaid?
Well, they're working on it, and when we interviewed with them in April, they said they were on the verge of getting certified, and that would be no problem. That's what they told me. It would be no problem. It's just we're right on the verge of getting certified. So,
Okay.
and then she went in on May 1st. But I said something to them in June. I think it is. I have their email statement saying somebody. I guess whoever comes in and certifies you found a couple little problems here and there, so they said they were working on that, but they expected to be certified soon. So as of right now,
Okay.
I don't know if they're certified today, but they told me my mother would definitely have a room, so don't worry about it. And I said, "What do you mean? I didn't realize the process of having a room. I just thought if they have 50 residents, and all of a sudden 10 of them are now Medicaid, they stay where they are and they just get a different. Somebody else writes a check, not my mother, but you know, Medicaid writes a check." But they
Yeah.
said no. They said every assisted living facility has 8 to 10 rooms dedicated to Medicaid. So I'm like, what? I mean, I didn't understand that at all. She said, no, they're not.
Yeah, I mean,
Normally, they're not going to tell you if you interview with them. They're not going to say, well, we only have 10 rooms available, and 9 are already taken. So, if you want to chance it here, they didn't say that stuff at all to me.
yeah. They want to probably keep their ratio of private pay to Medicaid beds at a certain level. Um, so that's probably why they have some private beds and some Medicaid beds, because Medicaid is going to be pay a lot less than private pay.
Right.
But I'll reach out to them and see what's going on, because we definitely want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that they are. I had a client in Wisconsin, oddly enough, that same thing. When I started with them, the facility was working on getting their provider number, and
Yeah.
no problem. She had actually been there a couple of years, private paying.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no problem, she'll have the first bed that, comes
Yeah.
open once we get our provider number.
Yeah.
And then, 2 years later, still no provider number.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're, trying to hassle the family for the back bill, because what happens is if they've applied for their provider number already,
Yeah.
once they're approved, they should be able to back bill for any month. So, for example, if they submitted an application in April of this year to get their provider number for Medicaid, and your mom goes on Medicaid in September, but they don't get their provider number until October, it should still be effective April, so that if they had anybody on Medicaid from April forward, they should be able to go back and bill for those months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll find out what's going on with that,
Wonderful.
and then
Wonderful.
we can discuss that a little bit. And how long? So she moved in there.
May 1st.
You said in May. So she was in Lexington Meadows until April.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
She was in Lexington Meadows until April, and then I should have wrote this on a timeline, but when she left Lexington Meadows, she went into, when she went out of the hospital, she went into a rehab place, but after 2 days, we said, we're getting her out of here. It was horrible. Horrible. I mean, luckily, my 3 sisters, my 2 sisters and myself, we hovered over her from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. We just tag teamed it. And they were, you had to grab the nurse. You didn't know what was she even getting her pills right? It was a mess. And so we found St. Leonard's then. And then she went to St. Leonard's for, 6 weeks or something like that, until she finally then went to Fairmont. So she was in, in a rehab place for over a month.
Okay, so she was probably at Lexington. When did she go to the hospital?
Lexington Meadows is her condo. That's where she lived for 20-some years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I gotcha. I was thinking it was another assisted living.
No.
When did she go in the hospital, roughly? Can you remember?
March, like the
Okay.
second week in March. She fell in March in her house in Lexington Meadows, in the condo at Lexington Meadows. And then by ambulance, we took her to the hospital, and she had a colon bleed. I guess that's what they call it. Somehow her, and then she underwent an operation about 2 in the morning. And the doctor was very serious. You know, he almost basically told us your mother's 95, her veins are real thin. So, you know, hopefully everything will be fine. You know, but we're like, holy mackerel. But she came through it as a trooper, and then she had to go to rehab. But she stayed in the hospital there for like a couple weeks, at Miami Valley Hospital here in Ohio, and then she went to that place for like 2 days, like I said. Then we took her out of there, and then put her in St. Leonard's for the whole month of April, and then March. Yeah, she fell in March, April, and then May 1st. We looked at quite a few different assisted living places until we found Fairmont. Yeah.
Okay. And the stay at the rehab was covered by Medicare, so she doesn't have an outstanding bill there?
Well, I just received a bill from it's called St. Leonard's, and I received a bill last month for $4,200, and I didn't pay it because I thought, well, the insurances are just catching up, because they had told us while she was in rehab, we can keep her another week. We checked all the stuff, and Medicare is going to cover it all. Okay, then we'll keep her another week. Medicare is going to, we checked it all. Medicare is going to cover it all. Okay. And then finally, you know, she was doing so well. That's when we found the assisted living. So last month I get a bill for $4,200, and I just received a bill like 3 days ago for $4,200. Again, the same one. So I called them yesterday, 2 days ago, I don't know, a couple days ago, and I told them I apologize. I said I'm not going to write you out a check because you guys said everything was covered, and I'm hoping Medicare will catch up with it. And the woman, the financial person, was so nice. She said, "Tell you what," she said, "I can't see. It looks to me like Aetna." Refused to pay the whatever Medicare and Aetna working together. She says, "Why don't you call Aetna and see what's up there?" So I called Aetna and got a really nice person there too. And they said, "Well, I'm going to send in a waiver or whatever, you know, a dispute." And she said, "Give it 30 days." She says, "And I'm sure that Medicare had a problem, did something wrong." So she was confident that, you know, that the bill will go away. But if it doesn't, I've got a $4,200 bill hanging over my head.
Okay. So, don't pay it.
Nope.
Let me know if it doesn't get paid.
I will.
And then we can submit it as a medical expense deduction or something, so we can try to get it taken care of
Okay.
with Medicaid if it doesn't, you know, get paid by Medicare. So just keep me posted
Okay.
on that. Okay. And then how much is the cost at Fairmont?
It varies. I mean, it varies. It's
What's the base rate?
well, you know, you round it off to 4,900.
Okay.
But I mean, 2 months ago I paid 35. My mother, because she doesn't leave her room, she gets food taken to her room, so that's like $5 a meal. So that's $15 extra a day.
Gotcha.
So, but it runs around 4,900. But I mean, I can give you the exact what it's been since. Do you need the exact
No,
amount?
it's okay.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to kind of get an idea because until we submit the application, and I want to submit September, so I want to get her spent down this month. We'll probably have you pay anything you owe them up to that point.
Well, I'm looking right
as
now.
part of her spent down.
In April, they I don't know if they made us pay ahead of time, but we paid $4,930. Then on 5/29 we paid $7,005, and then in June we paid $3,770, and then in July I paid $5,240. So see, it went from 49 to 7 to 37 to 52. They gave us.
She's probably paid through, since you're paying in advance. She's probably paid through 8/31 for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, when we paid on 4/24, we must have paid for April. I mean, for May, you know, ahead of time.
Yeah, you had to have.
Right, right. So that's what I'm thinking. I just looked at if my mother has like $24,000 left right now between now and the end of the year, and I'm averaging put $5,000 a month. That's she's got 4 months worth. So it's either if August is already paid, then we have September, October, November, December, and that's kind of what I always figured out it would be toward. She'd have enough money through December.
Okay. I have our balances at right around 14, a little less than 15,000. I have Fifth Third Bank checking 9,200, and the savings has 55. Is there another asset?
Well, I just went into her account today, and checking is 53.28 as of right now, and savings is 28, and savings is 72.25, and then she has like cash that she's just squirreled away over the last 20 years, and it's at about $12,000 right now.
Not in the bank.
No.
Okay. Make a note of that. Yeah, Medicaid will have no way has no way to trace that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
My dad put all his he would put his money in the safe deposit box, his cash,
Uh-huh.
and he'd have just a minimal amount in the bank. So when he passed away, you know, I was the co-owner of the safety deposit box.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down to the bank and got the cash out of there. That's all that was in there, this cash. Like,
Yeah.
and he had $8,000 was in a separate Ziploc bag. I
Yeah.
guess that's how he didn't like the banks.
Well, you think about it all. You think about all that cash. It's all been taxed. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, she'd have me go to the bank and say, give me $400, and you know, periodically over 20 years, 400, give me 300, 400, you know, whatever, and then she had a small, I wouldn't say it's an IRA, and my dad had taken out some, not even stocks, it's like he invested in, you know, I forget what they're called now, but CDs, yeah, savings bonds and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it whittled, you know, every year she had to take, you know, 2,000 out of it, 2,000. So we just cashed in the other day. But even all that stuff, it all gets taxed when she had her income taxes done and stuff. So I'd say the last 2 or 3 years we didn't submit taxes at all. So she didn't have enough money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the home, because you listed the home, but you said that was in your name.
Right.
Was that always in your name, or was that in her name, or was it a joint?
No, it's always in my name. It was always in my name, you know, but we bought it together in 2002. She was living in Michigan. My dad had just passed away. And my dad and her would always come down to Ohio from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan every winter, and they'd stay here for like 3-4 months. And they would either rent a house or they would stay with my sister. And so when my dad passed away, I knew she wanted to come down here again during the winter, and I said, Mom, you know, eventually you'll probably live down here. Why don't we just buy a condo together? She goes, oh, and I found a really nice one, Lexington Meadows. And she said, okay. And she sent me like $52,000, I think it was. And I put 52 in it, and we bought a condo together. And that's where she lived since 2002, 22 years. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But no.
That's good, because we don't have to worry about it if it's in your name.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing and I'm not going to sell it right now anyways. My sister and my brother-in-law from Minnesota are selling their house, and they're going to come live down here and live in that condo because they want to. My sister wants to be near my mom. You know, we don't know how long my mom has. She's 95. She looks in good shape, but you never know. You know. So it'll remain the way it is.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. I just didn't know about knowing that she. You know, I mean, we know in our heart of hearts she owns half of it, but I'm not selling the place, and I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to sell it. That's the bottom line right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you might have told me this already, but when did you guys purchase that?
2002, November 2002.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Right after your dad passed.
Right.
Okay. All right, so that's good. We don't have to worry about that. She's got a funeral policy at Jacobs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
For 11,304, and that's irrevocable.
Right.
And then you guys have a plot at Ellsworth for her.
Right. Stamble Cemetery,
Okay.
next to my dad.
Okay, cool. All right, so those are excluded. Any assets liquidated in the past 5 years that you can think of? Like any IRAs cashed in or
Just-
CDs cashed in or?
Just her CD, we cashed that in. I don't know, knowing that she was going to go into this play. It was down to $2,000, so I just cashed it in, and that's part of what's in her cash. The 12,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was like in maybe March or April?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. May ask about it, so I'm going to note it. Right, pretty straightforward. So here's what we could do. We could submit at the end of this month by, I would just leave that 12,000 cash on hand as cash,
Mm-hmm.
and it will not be something that Medicaid would look at as an asset, because they won't know about it. Then you have the $12,553 in the bank.
Yep.
So what we could do is we could gift the rest of her money other than maybe $1,500. So we would gift about $11,000 this month before the end of the month to you and or your sister, however you guys want to do it. This would create a penalty period of about a month and a half, where you private pay, which you're private paying now, and you would use her income plus part of that gift, part of the $11,000, to pay the facility for that penalty period. That way we could get the application submitted now, and you might be able to preserve a little bit of that money. Let's see, the cost is right around maybe like $5,000. She has 2,300 coming in. So you have to take, like maybe 2,700 to 3,000 out of the gift for each month of the penalty period. But you'd still have you'd have the 12,000 still left, and then you'd have whatever's left of the 11,000 once the penalty period is over. So that's up to you, and I'll send you all this in an email, and then you can discuss it with your sister and see what you want to do. The other alternative would be just like you said, spend her money down until she's out of money,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can submit. So it's up to you. I don't, with assisted living, and I'll put this in my notes too because it's a little bit mind-boggling. So it's helpful to have it in writing so you can kind of read through it and discuss it with your sister.
Yeah.
With assisted living, nursing homes, if we get her down below 2,000 and submit, for example, September 1st, once the Medicaid gets approved, the Medicaid eligibility goes back to September 1st.
Mm.
Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
With assisted living, it's different. We won't know exactly. If we submit September 1st, we're not really sure when the Medicaid will start because it's going to be dependent upon when somebody from this state comes out to do a medical assessment on her for the passport waiver program. And I mean, Courtney and I have had trouble with Ohio. Sometimes it's not a problem, but sometimes they're slow.
Mm-hmm.
And if they take 3 months to get out there to the facility,
Mm-hmm.
her Medicaid, even though we submit September 1st, her Medicaid may not start until November
Mm-hmm.
1st, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
And then the penalty period would start from that date. So it really is going to start from the date of the medical assessment. Now, we'll be very aggressive and on top of it. We will call and make the referral ourselves because that was a problem with one of our cases.
Mm-hmm.
Once you file a Medicaid application, Medicaid is supposed to request it, but sometimes they don't right away. So what we have started doing with our Ohio waiver cases is going ahead and making that referral right away, like as soon as we submit ourselves, and then follow up and keep following up and making sure that it gets scheduled. So that's when, if we did a penalty, if we did a gifting strategy, the penalty period would start from the date of that assessment. So that can be a little tricky. And I'll when I send you the email, I'll kind of lay out some of the numbers for you so you can kind of see how this would work.
Now, would you suggest one way or the other? Do you recommend one way or the other?
I will in my email. I'm gonna sit down here and figure out the risk. If that assessment doesn't get done, I don't want you to run out of money.
Yeah.
But I would get going as quickly as possible and try to retain any of her assets that you can. Because if you wait until she's down below 2,000 in the bank, you still have the 12,000. But you wait until she's below and with assisted living, like I said, you still have another month and a half, maybe 2 months of private pay, depending on when that assessment gets done. And now you have no money, so now you're tapping into the 12,000.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it just, I think, and I'll like I said, I want to run the numbers myself and make sure. But I think I think gifting the 11,000 this month and getting an application submitted in September is probably the most logical way to proceed. But I'll know more when I sit down and kind of figure out how much it's going to cost you and all of that stuff.
Well, that's what I wrote that check out to you guys for, to do all the brain power for me.
Yeah, we're very familiar with Ohio, very familiar with long-term care Medicaid in general. So yeah, we'll get moving on it, and I'll give you, like I said, I'll give you the numbers, and then you guys can let me know, and then I'll just touch base with you next week or the week after and see what you think.
Okay.
And if you want to proceed with that strategy, then we'll go ahead and get it done, and we'll submit an application September 1st or thereabouts.
So
I'll send you the document checklist and start sending those things in too.
I didn't think it was possible when you say gift the money. I didn't think that anything like that could be done.
Yeah, it's a strategy. We use it all the time. Most people, if they're working on their own for their mom, they're not going to gift. And Medicaid would say, oh no, you don't want to gift because you'll get a penalty. But there's strategic gifting where it makes sense because it gets, first of all, it gets us to be able to submit the application sooner and get the ball rolling instead of waiting until they're out of money. But as long as the penalty period isn't going to cost you more than what you've gifted, I mean, you don't want to gift money and then it's going to cost you way more than than what you've gifted. Then you don't want to do that. It doesn't make sense.
So
but yeah, we use strategic gifting all the time.
Okay.
And I've been doing this for several years, and I worked in Florida Medicaid before that for 40. I retired from the state. So.
Oh boy. Are you still in Florida? Are you still in Florida now?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'm in Florida. So yeah, I think it's going to make sense, but I'm just going to mess around with the numbers, and when I send you the email, you'll be able to see it visually what I'm talking about and how it works.
Great.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me.
So the number that came through was 415-301-5597.
Yeah, that's my direct line.
Okay. It's funny because the iPhone, it didn't come up as a caller ID, but the iPhone in light print said, maybe this is Shauna Mackin. That is so weird.
Well, it is.
Yeah, okay, well, that's good.
And you can text me on that number, too.
Okay.
So if you and your sister have any questions in the meantime, or after you get the summary, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. So you don't need any more information from me then, hey?
No, I think I've got through everything I needed.
And the forms that I filled out for you, you got most of the stuff you needed that way, hey?
Yeah, I got all the information on there.
Okay.
So I'll just send you the summary probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And then and the checklist.
Okay.
You guys can start gathering docs.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to start getting documents for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna need some documents that Medicaid will request, and I'll send you a list of those so you guys
Okay.
can start.
Is it hard?
uploading
Is it
information.
hard stuff? Hard stuff?
No, it's not really hard stuff. We're going to need verification of that pension of your dad's, and I'd like to get a copy of her Social Security benefit letter as well, so I can make sure I have the correct income.
Okay. All right.
Bank statements, her insurance cards, stuff like that.
Okay.
Power of attorney,
Okay.
copy of the power of attorney,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okie dokie. Sounds
Okay.
good. Yep.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much, Marlene. It was nice to meet you.
Okay, Shauna, we'll be talking some more, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, we will.
I'm glad we hired you guys. Sound like you know what you're doing, so that's makes me feel comfortable. Yep.
Yeah, we will earn our money, I promise.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Promise.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Have
All right.
a good one.
Okay, bye-bye.
You too.